friends, and welcome to another episode of the Woldenburn podcast. My name is Emily, and I am just so glad that you're here today. I hope that I'm not blending into the background too much. I have on a black dress today, and so from what I can see in the camera, it looks like things are blending, but usually when what I see in the camera and what I actually see when I'm editing isn't quite the same thing, so hopefully I'm not blending too much into the background. But yeah, hi, I'm coming to you from Kentucky, where I live with my husband and our beautiful little boy and our soon-to-be second little boy in just a few months. Before we dive into the regular podcast, which is where I talk all about my knitting and yarny craft things, I have a couple of little, admin things that I wanted to mention here at the beginning. First off, I am typically most active online on YouTube, and then I do have Instagram, but I only check Instagram on Thursdays. So if you want to get in touch with me for something other than that, I have my email linked down below, and you can just send me an email there if you have questions, you want to get in touch, want to say hi, whatever you need to do. But I am on Instagram. I'm just not super active on there. It's something that I'm trying to figure out the balance between being on social media and connected and not too much. Two, I have my windows open, so you very well may hear a little bit of traffic noise or some birds chirping. Hopefully the breeze isn't affecting the sound quality or whatnot. But yeah, we're having some gorgeous spring weather today, so I'm trying to soak it all up and enjoy it. And then the last couple of things that I wanted to mention, first off, in case you missed it, I have a new series that I'm starting on this channel that's going to be specifically talking about my sewing. So if you are a knitter or a crocheter and you're also interested in sewing, be sure to check that out. I have just one video up so far, and I'm looking forward to kind of diving back into my love of sewing and kind of figuring all of that out. But I will have that video linked down below. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention quickly here is that if you are somebody who likes reading and you're interested in books, and specifically like cozy, wholesome, lovely sorts of books, you can check out my other YouTube channel, which is called Woldenburn Reads. I have done it before where I've talked about some books in my podcast, but I have gone back to making videos for my booktube channel, if you want to call it that. So if you're interested in that, I have 3 or 4 videos that I've made here in the last month or so, and I've really been enjoying that. I'm hoping that at least for the summer I can get ideally 2, maybe 3 videos up on that channel every month. So if you, like I said, love reading and whatnot, be sure to check that out. And then the last thing that I want to mention here at the beginning, so I don't forget this time, if you've been around here before, I've mentioned it, I am part of a book club with Holly from the Mystery Mouse Yarn, or Mystery Mouse Knitting Podcast, and the Mystery Mouse Yarn Co., and then Stephanie from Texas Peach. Is it just Texas Peach Knits? Oh my gosh, I'm just out of practice. I haven't been looking at any of that, but anyway, Stephanie and Holly and I are the co-hosts for a book club that we call, it's a book and knitting club, if you want to call it that. It's our fancy reading and needlecraft club, and we have just selected and just started our spring-summer book, which is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This is my lovely copy that I think is just so beautiful. And we are reading this book over the next 6 to 8 weeks, somewhere in there. We're kind of keeping this round of our reading club pretty casual and easy, just because people's schedules are really busy over the spring and beginning of summer and all of that. So if you're interested and you would like to participate in that, you can get in touch with Stephanie. I'll have her YouTube link down below, and you can check out her channel. You can get in touch with her. Like I said, we're keeping things pretty casual over the summer, but then we'll kind of ramp back up and do a more official book reading. We'll have discussion questions and all of that fun stuff in the fall. It's just for this one, we're kind of keeping things pretty chill because, like I said, it's a busy time of year for some people. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that at the beginning so I didn't forget, because I completely forgot for our last round we read The Scarlet Pimpernel, and I totally did not keep up with that one. It's a very casual, fun book club where we just kind of read and work on different knitting projects and that are sort of inspired by the book that we're reading, and it's a lot of fun. So I highly recommend it if you are a knitter and a reader and you like reading classic, wholesome, good literature. Be sure to join us. That being said, I have a pretty good-sized episode to talk through today. I have 2 finished objects, and then how many WIPs is that? 1, 2, 3? I think it's just 3 WIPs, but then I have just a couple of knitting plans that I want to talk through. So grab something to drink, water, tea, coffee if you drink it. I'm not a coffee drinker. Get your knitting. Let's just have a cozy 30-ish minutes, ideally, hopefully, unless I just blather on for forever. And we're just going to talk about some lovely yarny goodness. Before I do that though, I'm going to real quick run and stop my dryer so that hopefully you won't hear it kicking on and off in the background. I did not know that on dryers there's a thing called wrinkle release, where after you finish the normal drying cycle, it'll kick back on like every, I don't know, 5-10 minutes and rotate everything for a couple of minutes and then shut back off. And it'll do that for like, I think it's like an hour after the normal cycle starts, and I hate it. When the day comes that I get to replace my dryer, I'm going to make sure that it does not have that feature because it is so annoying. But anyway, I'm going to go turn that off real quick. Okay, the first finished object that I have to share with you is actually a very exciting one. This is a project that has had the majority of my knitting time devoted to it over the last, I think it's been about a month now, and I have just been knitting away at it feverishly. I'm loving it. It is a very fun knit. As I mentioned in my last podcast episode, I have been working on a sample knit for Emily from Night Bright Yarn Co. She's an amazing lady that I've had the pleasure to meet in real life and just get to know over the last 6 months or a year or so. And she has a hand-dyed yarn company, and she dyes some of the most beautiful, beautiful colors. I absolutely love seeing whatever creative colorway she comes up with. It's just amazing. So I was privileged enough to be able to do a sample knit for her and work with some of her beautiful yarns. She has a yarn collection that's going to be coming out, and it is amazing. Just absolutely perfect for this time of year. So springy and cheerful and happy and just lovely. So I sample knit the Stella quilt cushion for her. And I'm so happy to have it done. Deadlines are a good thing for me sometimes because they make sure that I push through and get stuff done, but then also there is that element of it's a deadline and I need to get it done. Which, to be fair, there was no hard and fast deadline. It's just I want to get it done quickly for her. But yeah, so this is it. Here's the front panel. There's 8 different colors here, which are just beautiful. My personal favorite has become this one right here. I was trying to decide before I started the project like which one of them I liked the best and all of that, because that's just how I do. And I couldn't decide, and then as I was knitting with it, I got to that pink, and it's like my childhood dream pink sort of a thing. It's the perfect bubblegum pink without being too in your face, and it's not too pale, and I love it so much. So I finished the front panel, which I can't remember where exactly I was when I last chatted to you. I may have been 2 or 3 rows in, I can't remember. But now I've completed the front, obviously, and then I have also completed the back panel and then done the little envelope closure here at the top. And I have a couple things to say about this pattern. One, it's very much a joy to knit. It is very fascinating the front is comprised of these individual squares that you knit. And so I started in this corner. You start with one square and then you pick up along a side and work this square and so on and so forth. And so for some rows, like the 2 middle rows were the most fun because you were switching colors like 4 times or something, or 3 times, and it just made the front fly off the needles. And I was like, oh, this is great. The back is going to go super quickly too. The back has a lot of knitting. It is just a lot of plain knitting because you pick up along two sides of the cushion, and then you work short rows for half of it, and then you work decreases while picking up on the other side of it. Okay, I'm apparently a very loose knitter, much looser than I realized I was, but also I have realized that depending on which designer you pick to knit patterns from, some designers will also be loose knitters and some designers will be tight knitters. Apparently, Laura from Penrose Knits, which I did not mention, the designer of this pattern is Laura of Penrose Knits. She has a podcast and she's on Instagram and she has several beautiful knitting patterns. Apparently she is an incredibly tight knitter, at least compared to me. The pattern called for, I believe it's US size 6, which is a 4mm needle. I had to go down to a US size 2, which is that a 2.75mm needle? I can't remember for sure now. I had to go down 4 needle sizes, basically, to get even close to her gauge. And my gauge was still like a little bit off, but it was as close as I was gonna get without going down like to a US 1 or something. So I double checked with Emily and she was like, yeah, that's fine. So I knit the front. However, when it came to knitting the back, my gauge must have loosened up again because it's just lots of plain knitting rather than the individual little squares, because I started running out of yarn. This envelope piece here at the top is actually supposed to be like twice the length that I was able to knit, but I think it was supposed to go down to about here rather than this much, but I just ran out of yarn. I knit it as long as I possibly could, and Emily was very lovely. She was like, yeah, that's fine. She'll just put some snaps in here and it'll work. But I just wanted to point out, if you're knitting this, be aware that your gauge may change for the back and you might want to go down a needle size or up a needle size, whatever it is, for your specific tensioning as a knitter. But mine apparently loosened up quite a bit because I used more yarn than I was supposed to. But yes, I'm very, very pleased with the project overall. The last thing I wanted to note is that the instructions for if you decide to make this and you decide to do the envelope closure, which there is an option to just not do this closure. You can just sew it up after you put the pillow insert in. Or I believe Laura mentioned in one of her podcast episodes that one of her testers put a zipper in the top, which honestly, if I were to make this for myself, which I wouldn't be averse to, it's just so many things I want to knit and not enough time. I think it would be really interesting to try and do the zipper top, because I would want some way to take the insert out. I wouldn't want to just seam it up, but in the pattern, the instructions for picking up the stitches for the envelope closure are really confusing. Part of me wants to like send a note to Laura and just be like, this makes 0 sense. She has a video tutorial linked in there which sort of explains it, but I don't know, the wording of it was just odd. There's a certain number of stitches that you're supposed to pick up for this, and you have to pick up a few extra stitches to make sure that there's enough for it to go over the pillow insert. And yeah, the way that it was worded was just, and maybe this is just my brain, but it was very confusing. So I wanted to point out that what I ended up doing is I completely ignored the instructions and I took the number of stitches, because if you look at this, maybe, I don't know if you can see that this is all slip stitches here. So these are really easy to pick up, but you needed to pick up more than the number of slip stitches there were. So I took the number of slip stitches that there were, and I took the number of stitches that I needed to pick up, and I inputted it into my phone. There's this app that's called, what is it? Where'd it go? My Row Counter, and it's an app that I heard of from Amber of the A Lovely Yarn podcast, and she mentioned something about it. And in here, let me see if I can show this to you quickly. I just have the free version. There is a premium version of it, but this is the app here. And you can go to their tools. My screen's in black and white. And they have a distribute increases and decreases. And all I did was input the current number of stitches and the desired number of stitches, and it told me the rate of pickup, and I did that and it worked first try. Like, it was perfect. So like if I have 15 stitches and I want to get to 25 stitches, it tells you, you can input that information. Hopefully you can see this. And it'll tell you where and how and when to pick up, and it's very convenient. I've really appreciated having that app available, specifically just for that. I think that's the only thing I've ever used it for, is just the increases and decreases. But if you decide to knit this pattern, just be forewarned that this particular section is kind of confusing. So other than that, I absolutely loved it. I highly recommend the pattern. It's very cozy. It is so squishy and lovely. It's completely garter stitch. Yeah, it's a load of fun to make. So this is my finished object. This is one of the biggest reasons I needed to film today, is because I need to get this shipped back to Emily. So I need to get it bundled up and sent off to her. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. Highly recommend it. Super fun, super cozy. Definitely check out Emily's yarns. As I said, I'm not on Instagram, so I don't know exactly when her release date for this yarn collection is, but I'll have her website linked down below. I'll have her Instagram linked down below, all that fun stuff. So just check it out. She has some gorgeous colorways, and highly recommend it. The other finished object that I have is a much simpler one. I have finished my April pair of socks that I am knitting for the Dandelion and Dogwood 24 and 24 sock knit along that they're doing for this year. And it's basically just where you knit a pair of socks per month. And I have finished my April socks. So these actually, I started them in March or late February. I can't remember. And I've just kind of slowly been working on them. They took me a lot longer than my socks usually do, but that's just because they're full-length socks, and the majority of the time I knit shorty socks. So they took me quite a bit longer. I didn't end up using them as my March socks. I knit a pair of shorty socks for that. But I have finished both of them. And I will say the second one went a lot faster. I don't know what that was about, but yeah, I'm really, really happy with them. These are knit according to my personal vanilla sock recipe, which is 56 stitches on a US size 1 or 2.25 millimeter needle. And I just knit a leg. I did a slip stitch heel, which I love how that looks, and then the foot. And then the one change that I have made for the last like 2-3 pairs of socks that I've knit is that I have been only decreasing at the toe down to, I think for this one, I couldn't remember for sure, and I didn't write it down, and so I kind of guessed, so it looks like I probably decreased. I did one more set of decreases on the second sock than I did on the first sock, but that's fine. So typically the way that I've done my socks in the past is I would decrease down to, I think it's from 56 stitches, I would decrease down to 24 stitches before binding off and doing the kitchen stitch, which would be, I think it was even less than that. I think I would go down to 20 stitches, because it would be 10 stitches per needle that I'm Kitchener'ing. I think that's what it was. And for the last 2-3 pairs of socks, I've been experimenting with not decreasing down that much, because the place that I end up getting the most wear on my socks is right here where my toe like pushes on the edge, and it'll get kind of threadbare, and like that's where I typically end up getting holes and stuff. So I've been experimenting with this one. As you can see, it's got a lot more stitches here. This one, I think this sock I only decreased down to 36 stitches. This one was 32 stitches. I did one extra because I couldn't remember. And I was just trying to count it and eyeball it. which is fine. I don't care. A few stitches less isn't going to make that much of a difference. But it gives me this much wider toe area. And so far, the socks that I have done that way, I love it. I love it so much. And that's how I'm planning to do all of my vanilla socks going forward. Or honestly, any socks, not just vanilla socks. But yeah, then the only other thing I have to say about this is that I knit it out of a discontinued Lion brand sock yarn, which I actually do have my leftovers here. It's Lion brand Sock Ease, and it is a blend of 75% wool, 25% nylon. It says it's machine washable and dryable. And this was the colorway Mai Tai, and I so much enjoyed working with it. My plan is with this, not right now, but I would like to do a pair of shorty socks, but do a contrast, at the very least a contrast heel in like a tealy blue. I think it'll pair really well with this, and I think it'll be really cute. So there we go. I have finally finished these socks. I just need to take some pictures and pop one up on Instagram for the knit along. I am loving doing this knit along this year. It's just, it is really helping me get through my sock yarn stash, so that's always a plus. But those are the two finished objects that I have. Let's go ahead and talk about some fun works in progress. So the first one, I cannot remember how far along I was on this when I last spoke with you. I need to start getting in the habit of putting my progress keepers on them so that I can know where I was. But I haven't worked a load on this because, like I said, the majority of my knitting time has been on the Stella quilt cushion, and then the other two projects that I'm going to talk about have been distracting me from this one. But I am knitting a Tolstati, which is a pattern by Rebecca of the Crayabea podcast. She designed some of the most beautiful knitting patterns. Everything she's done, or pretty much everything she's done so far, has just been exactly the sort of thing that I personally would knit. And so it's been really fun watching her come up with different patterns and stuff. And she's going to be working on like a summer tee design, which has that like wavy knit stitch stripe thing to it, and I'm so excited. It's based off of her Tide sweater, which is supposed to be coming out this week, I think. And I'm very excited about it. I'm definitely going to try and knit that one, or test knit it. Anyway, back to this one. I'm knitting a Tolstati, and this is also out of some yarn from Emily of Night Bright Yarn Co. This is her from her Sea collection last summer, and this is the Coral Reef colorway, which I just love it so much. It's so fun and pretty. I am still working on the increases. I was about to say decreases. On the increases, the raglan increases. And this is the fingering weight version of the Tolstati, which I have not made the fingering weight version before. I have made a DK weight version, but this is my first fingering weight version. And I have a cute little stitch marker on here, which was a gift from Stephanie from Texas Peach Knits. It's a little peach, and honestly this is probably one of my favorite stitch markers because it's round and so it doesn't catch on anything, and also it's so stinking cute. I absolutely love it. And I am knitting the, let me actually look here. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 4th size. But the one change that I made to the pattern is that instead of starting with the neckband ribbing, which is what you're supposed to do, I just immediately started the top, because my plan is to come back and pick up stitches and then knit the neckband. And the reason for that is my previous Tolstati that I knit, the neckband ended up way too open and wide for my preference, and I wanted a closer like crew neck, kind of like this neckline, but just a closer neckline. So this way I can kind of customize how many stitches I pick up and how snug I make the neckline. But yeah, so there's that one. Like I said, not a whole lot to say about this one. Here's this gorgeous yarn. It's just so beautiful. Then the next two projects are both in this bag, which is a beautiful bag from Susan of Delightful Works. I will have her Etsy shop linked down below. Here's her little tag. I don't know if you can see that. My ties are getting in the way. There we go. I actually have 2 different sweater projects in here and a Kindle because I have been like taking it outside while I sit in the backyard with my toddler and work on knitting. And the first one is a second Tulsa tee, and this one is actually technically a long-term WIP project because I started it and then I wasn't sure if I was going to finish it because I'm not 100% happy with how my initial Tulsa tee turned out. Like I said, the neckline ended up way too wide and it was kind of stretching more and more as I wore it. It's a little shorter than I would like it to be. I would have preferred for it to be a little bit longer, and I couldn't make it longer because of the stripe sequence that I had done. I didn't have enough yarn to do another repeat, and it was a whole thing. So I wasn't completely sure if I was going to knit another one in this particular yarn, because this is Drops Bell yarn. But as the weather's been warming up, I have been wanting just some simple hand knit like t-shirts out of some sort of cotton warm weather yarn. And so I have the yarn, like I specifically bought enough Drops Bell yarn to make 2 Tulsa tees. So I had this one. This is just going to be a solid color Tulsa tee. And I had just finished the short rows, and then I had been sitting in the bag in the closet and I hadn't touched it. Well, then I knew I wanted to make some more summer tees, and I decided to go ahead and pick it back up and keep working on it. So I have, as you can see, I have made a good amount of progress. I think when I picked it up, there was only, well, in the front there wasn't any work at all, but then in the back I had completed the short rows. And so I've done like probably 3 or 4 inches on it, which it's pretty fun. Like I said, I'm not 100% sold on the Drops Bell yarn. I don't think it's a bad yarn by any means, but I think for my personal tastes, I prefer like just plain cotton yarn. And this is a blend of cotton, viscose, and linen. Is that right? Yeah, cotton, viscose, and linen. There you go, Drops Bell. And yeah, I don't hate it. But I don't know if I will buy more unless this t-shirt ends up completely changing how I feel about it. I don't know that I would buy any more, just for me personally. I'd rather buy some 100% cotton yarn like Lion Brand Kogu, or there's a couple different Knit Picks cotton yarns that I would really, really like to try. There's a Knit Picks Comfy Fingering Weight yarn, which is like a cotton and acrylic blend, and I would love to try that one because I would really, really like to get some fingering weight cotton yarns because I think that would be amazing for summertime and stuff. So if you happen to have any Knit Picks comfy fingering cotton yarn, or just some fingering weight cotton yarn in general that you're looking to de-stash, do please let me know, because I would absolutely love to. We can make this work. We'll make some sort of an exchange going on. But anyway, so there's that one. I think with that one I am also knitting the 4th size, yeah. And then the last project that I have to talk about. This one makes me so happy. And I put it down to work on other projects, and I just want to work on this one. And I was trying to finish the Stella cushion. So I haven't touched this one in probably a week, but oh, I love this one so much. I am finally making another ranunculus, which is a pattern by Midori Hirose. And I knit one last summer, or was it was kind of getting into fall, because it was like, yeah, it was fall, that's fall, because it was October when I was knitting, because I knit a ton of it on our family vacation. And I knit it out of a cotton and linen blend yarn. It was a discontinued yarn from Hobby Lobby. Oh, I love that sweater so much. It honestly is one of the big things that started me on this like cotton kick. I want to knit more things out of cotton because I just love it. I'm just a cotton person. And I have ever since then, ever since the second I cast it off, I wanted to make another one. And so I'm finally doing that. And this is out of the Mystery Mouse Yarn Co. Yarn in the Jessica Fletcher colorway, and it's a DK weight, 75% superwash merino, and, or no, this one's 100% superwash merino. That's what it is. And I love it so much. It's sort of this purpley, pinky, burgundy color, and it's just stunning. And I have been loving knitting this pattern. Like, re-knitting it is just reminding me how much I love it. It's so good. So as you can see, this neckline looks pretty tiny. I followed the instructions for the cast on for this, which is you cast on the same number of stitches for any of the sizes, 60 stitches, and then you do some twisted ribbing for about an inch or so, and then you go into these fun little like slip stitch things here, and then this stitch pattern, and there's a little bit of lace here, and then there's more of these slip stitch things, and I have just started the raglan increases that happen after the yoke. This pattern calls for you to typically, it's knit on US size 10 and US size 8 needles. I am knitting this on US size 9 and US size 7. I did the 7 for the ribbing, but I cast on with the 9 because I wanted to make sure that my cast on was good and stretchy. Because I knew that this was going to be a tighter fit, but I went ahead and did it this way because I thought the neckline on my last one was going to be too tight. Like the whole time I was knitting it, I was like, I'm not sure about this. It's perfect. If anything, it has almost stretched out a little bit too much because of the cotton content of the yarn. But I really like how the neckline fits. So I just did the exact same number of stitches and everything. I'm doing the exact same size. Even though this is a DK weight yarn and then that one was knit in a worsted weight, I think this one's a bit, because it's wool rather than cotton, it's got a little bit more fluff and fullness to it. So it's not like the fabric is super open or anything like that. So I think it's going to be perfect. But yeah, I'm loving this. I've tried it on once, so I know that this fits over my head and everything. But I tried it on before I started the raglan increases because I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to need them. And I need just a little bit more room and a little bit more length. So I'm going to do the raglan increases and then try it on again and go from there. But this is so much fun. I absolutely love this. I really want to make another cotton ranunculus or 2 or 3 cotton ranunculus sweaters because I do really love this pattern. It's so much fun. And now the trash truck is coming by and they have the squealiest brakes that you have ever heard. And it always makes me a little scared that they're going to wake my toddler up because he loves the trash truck. So let's pause for a second while the trash goes by. Okay, let's see if we can wrap things up before it comes back by to get our trash. It was on the other side of the road, so it'll be back in a minute. I think that's all that I have to say about that. I am doing, I believe, the numbers for the second size because, like I said, every size starts with the same cast on. You do the exact same thing for, well, the increase rates are a little bit different, but I'm pretty sure I'm doing the second size. Oh no, never mind. The increase rates are exactly the same for the whole yoke section. It's when you get to the raglan section that then it changes for the different sizes. And I'm pretty sure I went ahead and just did the second size, which is what I did for my first ranunculus. I'm pretty sure that's what I did. I really need to get a little notebook like Amy of Noble Character Craft. She has a notebook that she keeps all the notes and everything in there. And I need something like that because I'm just starting to notice, like with my socks, where I was like, oh, I didn't keep track of how many stitches I decreased down to and all that stuff. So let's quickly talk about just a couple little knitting plans and then I'm planning to wrap things up, like I said. First off, it's going to be time to cast on my next pair of socks, which I'm very excited about. I do have a couple of sock whips. Technically I have another whip. I cast on another pair of shorty socks for my husband, but those are kind of boring. I'll wait until I'm a little bit more into it and I'll share it next time. And then I have my Mercury socks that I've been working on, which I'm actually planning to probably pull out today. Maybe, I don't know. I'm planning to pull them back out and work on them. And then I have I believe it's Jacob's Ladder socks by Anna Knitter, and it's a pattern she designed, and I started working on that, I think it was last year, and I just haven't touched them because the pattern is it's complex enough that I just wasn't in the frame of mind to work on it. I've just been wanting to do vanilla socks. And so I haven't touched that. But my next vanilla sock project is going to be one of these two beautiful, beautiful yarns. Either this Opal Beauty yarn, which I love this colorway so much. I'm pretty sure this is a yarn that my mother-in-law got me. She might have bought both of these for me, but I don't remember for sure. And then the other one is this in the Opal History collection. And you can't really see it because the price tag sticker is over top of it. But just the way that it looks like it's supposed to knit up is so cute. Like this one's going to be more of like a micro stripe look. But this one has like a fatter stripe. And so I'm trying to decide which one of these I want to knit up. Because I'm pretty sure my mother-in-law bought me both of these, but I can't remember for sure. I might have bought one for myself, and she bought me the other one. I don't remember. So one of these is going to become my next vanilla sock pattern. And then I'm actually planning to do a little bit of a Make 9 update. I'm going to change out some things that I put on there and switch things around. So I'm hoping that will be maybe my next video to come out. And then I also have a crocheted baby blanket that I need to get started. Oh my goodness. I know as soon as I start it, it's just going to fly off the hook, but it's just, I haven't started it. And that initial, like, you have to focus for like 20 minutes. It's ridiculous. Also, the trash truck is coming back now. Okay, hopefully that's the last of the interruptions because I'm so close to being done. Like I said, I need to start that crocheted baby blanket. It's just going to be like a simple crocheted ripple blanket. I'm going to use one of the free patterns from Attic 24. So I want to work on that. And then I do have a test knit. I'm doing a test knit for Hannah of Hannah G Knits. She has a podcast, which is a level, or it's not, I don't know if it's a podcast because she does project update videos, so it's more of like a knitting vlog channel. I'm not 100% sure exactly what the classification would be, but I have a test knit for her. I have a super fun weekend coming up this week, which I guess this goes into a little bit of a life update thing, but I have our local library is doing their library book sale, which I'm very excited about. I'm going to be filming a little vlog and haul video for my book channel. And then my local yarn store, it's about 30 minutes away, is having their LYS, Local Yarn Store Day sales. And I'm planning to go and pick up yarn for the test knit that I'm doing for Hannah. And it's going to be a little sweater for our little baby, which I'm really excited about. So I have to go pick up yarn for that, or I have to. I get to go and pick up yarn for it, which I'm very excited about. So it's going to be a really busy weekend. We've finally been getting some work done to get a fence up so that my toddler will stop trying to run out in the front yard and run out in the road. So we've got the poles put up on one side, which is really nice because we've got like a temporary like plastic fence thing that we put up to keep him in the backyard, which has worked really well so far. And then this weekend, I think we're going to try and get the posts put up for the other side of the yard. Because basically we have the neighbors on 3 sides of us. We have fencing from them. But then from our house to their fences, there's no fence. And so we just need to put up those 2 little sections and we'll have a fully fenced yard. So we've been meaning to do that for ages, and it's just one thing and another hasn't happened. And it's finally, like last weekend, we finally got one side posts put up and we're gonna get the other posts put up. That's supposed to happen this weekend. And then May, oh my goodness, the first 2.5, 3 weeks, first couple of weeks of May are just going to be utterly insane. I have my gestational diabetes test coming up for my pregnancy. There's been some stuff with that I don't really want to talk about right now because it's fairly stressful for me at the moment. So we're just gonna not talk about it, but that's coming up May 1st, which is unfortunate because that is May Day, which it used to be like this fun holiday thing, and I have always just loved May Day, May 1st, so I have that test coming up. If you are somebody that does it, if you wouldn't mind praying that those test results would come back free and clear and that I would not have gestational diabetes, I would so appreciate it. Very, very much so. And that if it does come back that I have gestational diabetes, that we would just have peace and trust that God knows what He's doing and He's going to be with us every step of the way, because it's been a little bit hard to do that. But anyway, don't want to go any more into that. But we have this weekend with, I get all the fun things of the library book sale and the yarn sale. Then we have that coming up. And then my sister's going to be coming into town for a couple of days to hang out before we go to my brother's wedding. And then my brother's wedding happens, and then we'll be hanging out with family and doing all that stuff. And then the week after that, like 2 days after we get back, my husband has a work thing that he has to do. And so we'll be away from the house for like 3 days, staying in a hotel for like 3 days, because the toddler and I get to go with him, which I so appreciate. It's so nice. I do appreciate that aspect about his work, is that they're getting him a hotel room anyway, so they don't care if we come with. And it just makes it a little bit easier that I don't have to solo parent for like 3 days. I get to go with him. So we have that. So May is just... It's coming up. I was like looking at all these things and I was like, ugh. For someone who doesn't mind not leaving the house at all for like 2 weeks, it's a lot. My little introvert soul is just not sure how I'm going to cope with all of this. Basically the weekend after, I'm just gonna be like, all right, we're going nowhere. We are doing nothing. Like, we are just staying home. It's gonna be crazy, because then there's also Mother's Day in there, so we're probably gonna try and meet up, because my husband's parents are invited to my brother's wedding, and so we're probably gonna try and see if we can meet up for some sort of like a breakfast on Saturday, or it's all over the place. There's so much happening. But it's all good. I know that the test is good and it's good information to know, but it's hard for me to like truly see it as something good. It's all good things. It's just busy, and it just happened to all get crammed in like 2 weeks. But yeah, I wasn't planning to do much of a life update section, but here we are. So that is all. That is all that I have to share today. A lot of fun projects and things. I hope that you are all having wonderful, wonderful springtime. If you have gardens, that your gardens are going well, you're getting those up and started. I hope that your knitting is going well, that you have projects that are bringing you so much joy, and all of that. And I hope that you're all healthy and well and just doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me chatter about all these knitting things. I hope that you enjoyed it. Be sure to give a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave me a comment down below. Let's talk about knitting and anything else, you know, crafty, creative, motherhood, homemaking, all that fun stuff. Just leave me a comment. I love comments. But that being said, that's it. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!